Noon, everybody. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes here. We're trying to do a real quick update to these slides that I'm hoping will appear here in a minute or two. So we might start just a minute late, but we'll get this call going in just a minute or two. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your patience as we get things going here. My name is Tom Ray, and I'm a lead forecaster here at the National Weather Service Office in Louisville, Kentucky. And let's go ahead and get into this. I know everybody's really busy today, so we'll try and get through this in a reasonable amount of time. Starting with this first slide, we just updated this. As you can see by the timestamp in the upper right there, this is hot off the presses. Storm Prediction Center just updated their Day 2 severe weather outlook, and they have introduced a moderate risk, as you can see there in the deeper red colors on your map, from southwest Indiana, southwestward through western Kentucky into West Tennessee and down into the lower Mississippi Valley. This is for the event that we're expecting tomorrow evening. Tomorrow during the day should be relatively benign. We'll still have some scattered showers and a few thunderstorms here and there, but the severe threat doesn't come in until tomorrow evening. Looking in the upper left corner of the screen here, we see we've got some timing there. Confidence is not particularly high on the timing for this event. This event is a bit more challenging from a timing perspective than the Sunday event was. The main storm system this time is a bit farther to our west and north, and it's a little bit more difficult to time when exactly the storms are finally going to make it this far south and east. But our best stab right now is storms entering western Kentucky in the late afternoon to early evening hours. So for these timing blocks, so for instance, in western Kentucky, you see 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. So that's for the entire event. So starting in western Kentucky in the mid-afternoon to late afternoon hours, and then finishing shortly after midnight. And then as we move into southern Indiana, central Kentucky, it really is an evening into the overnight event. And then eastern Kentucky is more of an overnight event. So for southern Indiana and central Kentucky, then we expect storms to move into those areas around 8, 9, 10 p.m. and then continue through the night. And I know that's a long time span there from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., but it looks like as these storms enter the region, they're going to slow down as they move eastward. And so they really could linger across, especially across Kentucky, maybe not so much across southern Indiana, but especially across Kentucky. They could linger into the night. Going down the slide a little farther under the key messages before the storms get here during the day on Wednesday, it's going to be a windy day. This is a strong spring storm system. So we're going to have some good winds just during the day ahead of the thunderstorms tomorrow. Gusts over 40 miles per hour are just about a sure bet. I mean, confidence is very high in gusts over 40, and I would not at all be surprised to see gusts to 50 in just the regular straight line winds tomorrow afternoon especially. Strongest winds probably over southern Indiana and the western half of Kentucky, but still the entire region is going to be a very windy day. And then as we go through the day, we do expect those severe storms to develop off to our west, probably a line of storms from Illinois to Arkansas, it looks like. And then those storms blow up in that area and push eastward into the Ohio Valley. And as those storms move into the region, all hazards are in play, but the biggest concerns are damaging very strong winds and tornadoes. And the reason for that moderate risk upgrade there in western Kentucky and southwest Indiana was that Storm Prediction Center did increase their tornado likelihood a little bit, and that's what bumped that up from enhanced to moderate. Speaking of tornado probabilities, this is also an updated graphic that we just got minutes ago. And there's that red shaded area, that red hatched area where you see the 15%. That's what bumped that up to a moderate from Storm Prediction Center. So we do expect some storms to produce tornadoes. As you move eastward into central and eastern Kentucky, the chances do decrease, but we can't let down our guard in those areas either. Tornadoes still very much a real possibility throughout the state of Kentucky as well as southern Indiana. And then that hatching, there is a 10% chance of a significant tornado or greater, so that's an EF2 or stronger. So far in the surveying we've done from the Sunday storms, we've had EF1 tornadoes. So there is a possibility we could have stronger tornadoes with this event tomorrow evening. And then looking at the wind and hail, no big surprise here, very strong winds on the left side. That's what the map on the left is showing us. And a 10% chance of greater than a hurricane force wind within that hatched area. And then on the right, hail, not as big of a concern as you go farther east, but still not something to be ruled out. And there is, once again, a hatched area with a 10% chance of hail 2 inches in diameter or greater. Moving on, it's not over after tomorrow. A lot of times we'll get a severe weather event and the front will blow through, and then we'll have cooler or quieter weather behind the front, but that's not the case this time. As I said towards the beginning of the call, as those storms move into the area Wednesday night, they'll kind of come in more of a north-south orientation, but then lay out more of a northeast to southwest or maybe even east-west orientation by the time they get down into Kentucky overnight tomorrow night. And that's because that front that's bringing those storms is going to slow down and kind of stay in the area and maybe stall over the area or wave back and forth over the area, but at any rate, remain in the vicinity probably through the weekend. So we're going to have repeated rounds of showers and thunderstorms even after tomorrow night. And so the Storm Prediction Center has put us in a slight risk for severe weather again on Thursday. Now, this is going to be somewhat dependent on what happens Wednesday night, how much cloudiness is going to stick around on Thursday, how many rain showers and thunderstorms will still be left over as we go into Thursday morning. So Thursday is highly dependent on what happens Wednesday night. Friday in the upper left, Saturday in the upper right. Once again, 15% chances from the Storm Prediction Center implies a marginal to slight risk of severe thunderstorms on those days, as well as the front just sits over the area and waves of showers and thunderstorms move along that front and bring additional threats of severe weather. And each day is dependent on the previous day. So it's a very, very difficult forecast and difficult to pin down any kind of timing at all beyond tomorrow night. And even tomorrow night's not easy. So with those repeated rounds of showers and thunderstorms, many of them bringing very heavy rain, there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere right now coming up from the Gulf. That then raises the possibility of flooding. And as you can see there, now these are 7-day rainfall totals on this map, but huge rainfall amounts, especially over the northern, central, and western parts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, as well as into southern Indiana. You see we've got 10 to 15-inch rainfall totals there in the forecast from western Kentucky, Paducah up through Owensboro into southwest Indiana. Now, again, that is a 7-day forecast, so it's spread out over a full 7 days. But nevertheless, most of that rain is actually going to fall in about 4 days because we've got that first wave coming in. Well, we've got scattered showers during the day tomorrow, which should be fairly inconsequential. But then we have the big wave coming in tomorrow evening with the severe storms and the really heavy rain. And then the repeated rains on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe lingering into Sunday. Difficult to tell right now about Sunday. But we've at least got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then part of Wednesday. So there's about 4 days there. So it's copious amounts of rainfall. This is not something to be taking lightly. This is a serious situation. So widespread flooding is expected, and that's flash flooding in the thunderstorms, because these storms are going to produce very heavy downpours as they move through. And then aerial and river flooding as storms repeatedly move over the same areas again and again and again. Now, these rainfall totals will possibly change in the next days as the forecasts are updated. But I must say that the data have been really consistent over the last 2-3 days, showing this stripe of heavy rain, especially the heaviest rain that you see there along the Ohio River in a few counties either side of the river. There's been a lot of consistency, a really good signal from the data that we've been looking at for this heavy rain and for these amounts as well. And that is shown there in the confidence bar in the lower left, where we've got the arrow pointing to the high confidence. So the excessive rainfall outlooks for Wednesday, we see a moderate there in the pinkish reddish color, again, along the Ohio River into western Kentucky, southwest Indiana. And then on the right is Thursday, another moderate. As we proceed, Friday, maybe a little bit of a relative break, but still heavy rain in the area. And then Saturday, we're right back into the moderate again. So it's very unusual to see this many consecutive days with this high of a risk of heavy rain over the same spot, especially over the Ohio Valley. And then moving into the flooding possibilities, there's going to be flooding. There's going to be aerial flooding. There will be river flooding if these rainfall amounts come to fruition. And this could potentially be a high-end event with life-threatening flooding. It's very important to take this seriously. So on this map, we see river sites on the various rivers around the area throughout the Ohio Valley and much of the rest of the eastern Midwest. And the circles are a 30% chance of that river point reaching that stage. And as you can see from this particular set of guidance, we have quite a few spots that have at least a 30% chance anyway of reaching moderate flood. And we've even got a few 30% chances of major floods in a few spots here and there. So, but don't take this map too literally. I mean, again, it is just a forecast, but take away from this the fact that we've got widespread flooding of some degree throughout the region expected with all that rain. So, of course, we need to remind everybody, tell your friends, tell your family, do not drive through floodwaters. Don't drive through floodwaters. So many flood fatalities happen in vehicles year after year after year. Sometimes it's people driving onto a road that they've lived on their entire life, and it's always been fine before, but this time it's not. Sometimes it's people driving around barricades, and that's just, we really need to impress upon the public and our friends and family to please don't drive through floodwaters. Find another way to go if you can. It'll take you a little longer, but you'll get there alive. Nighttime tornadoes are a particular threat, as is nighttime flooding as well. But be sure to have NOAA weather radio or some way to get weather alerts that will wake you up when you're asleep. And it looks like that is my last slide. So I will, what should I go back to? Let's see. Let's go back to the rainfall totals. And I will look in my questions pane here and see if we have any questions from the attendees. Go ahead and type your questions there if you have any. Let's see what we got. So we've had a few. The first question I see here, are there similar severe analogs to this? On the severe side, that's difficult to say. I mean, almost an analog would be this past Sunday in some ways, with the storms blowing up to our west and moving eastward. I kind of hesitate to give an analog because I don't want to necessarily throw a date out there and have people get like overly panicky or really concerned remembering that particular date. But I can say that this is, you don't see a moderate risk every day. As moderate risks are fairly rare. And so I would say at least this is a higher end event and is relatively unusual for us to get a moderate risk like that. And it's also unusual for us to get so many slight risks so many consecutive days, even during this stormy time of year, which April often is. Another person asks, can we get slides emailed to us? The slides have been posted to the website, so they're at that link that you have in the email that you got this morning. We sent out an email. I don't remember exactly what time it was before I got to work, but sometime this morning was probably around 5:30 or 6 a.m., something like that. There's a link in there that will always give you the latest information because that's what we update on our website. So go ahead and go to that PDF link, and you can download the PDF slides there and send them to your constituents. One person asked me to spell my first and last name. Absolutely. My first name is Tom, T-O-M. And the last name is pronounced Ray, but it's spelled R-E-A-U-G-H. And I'm a lead forecaster here at the National Weather Service Office in Louisville, Kentucky. Moving on to the questions. Let's see. Someone is asking, confirming ETA to Du Bois County between 8 and 10 p.m. Yeah, that looks reasonable right now. Again, not huge confidence on the timing, but that's a reasonable estimate at this time. And a question asking, is the severe and tornado threat primarily when storms arrive, or does that persist for several hours? I would say the main tornado and severe wind threat would be when the storms first arrive. So take that beginning, or take that commencement time. So for example, 8 to 10 p.m. in Southwest Indiana, and then add 1 to 2 hours to that for the real main threat time for those severe winds and tornadoes. Now, also remember, though, that even once the severe wind and tornado threat and hail threat subsides, maybe the strongest storms on that leading edge of the squall line, maybe they've moved by you, but the threat for flooding remains. Once the severe threat goes by your location, you still need to watch out for flooding. I think especially places in Kentucky where, again, that line might kind of lay out to an east-west orientation. Let's see here. I'm getting lots of good questions. What's the confidence on the track of the axis of rain? As I said, the data that have been coming in over the last few days, I've been working these storms. I worked the Sunday's event and I'm working tomorrow. I've been doing this since this past Friday. And so what I've been seeing and what others in the community have been seeing is some pretty consistent signals among the data. So will there be slight shifts in the rainfall axis? Probably, yeah. And no forecast is perfect. But the high confidence is high that there will be an axis of heavy rain somewhere in the region, and really what we've been seeing has really been zeroing in on that strip from along the Ohio River through western Kentucky and then down into Arkansas. Yeah, one person is asking, this is an April Fool's joke, right? Gosh, I sure wish it was. Sure wish it was. We've been very busy here at the weather office the last several days. I'll just put it that way. One person is asking if this is a 1,000-year flood. It's hard to say. I'm not a huge fan of that phraseology either, really. You can have 1,000-year floods in consecutive years, but it'll be a significant high-end event. We can put it that way. Person is asking, what are the chances for a moderate risk expansion from SPC for Central Kentucky, and what about a high risk for the flooding aspect of it? I mean, this can always happen. Those decisions are made by those other organizations, by those other offices, not by us. If I had to guess, I'd say that moderate risk is probably fairly well placed for the severe threat. And I know that the Weather Prediction Center, or WPC, they're the ones who do the excessive rain outlooks. I know that they have been discussing the possibility of a high risk. One has not been issued yet. We still, as we saw on those slides with the red color, those were moderate risks. But yes, there is a possibility that it could be upgraded to a high risk. Here. All right, moving on here. Wow, I don't think I've ever had this many questions before. we might not have time to go through them all. I apologize if I don't get to some. Do I anticipate another conference call tomorrow? We would certainly like to do one if we have the time to do it. I will try very hard to get one done. I cannot guarantee it. And also, I'm not on the day shift tomorrow, so I don't want to make promises that someone else would have to keep. But we will certainly try, and I'd say it's certainly possible. So, okay, another question here about the Ohio River. Yes, we are expecting some significant flooding on the Ohio with all that rain. So the rain will be dumping into the tributaries, of course, and then all that water has to go into the Ohio, obviously. But also the orientation of that rain, that heavy rain axis, is right along the Ohio River, and that does not help for the rain to be falling directly into the river as well. So the Ohio River is definitely under the gun here. Moving along. A person is asking about flash flooding versus general flooding. So the flash flood threat will come with those waves of showers and storms, especially the heavier storms as they put down copious amounts of rainfall in short amounts of time. And then the general river flooding will develop as we get those repeated waves of showers and thunderstorms moving through the area. Person is asking about supercells. Supercells are large rotating thunderstorms, and they're responsible for the majority of tornado activity and very large hail across the central part of the United States. Best chance for supercells will be as they initially develop from Illinois to Arkansas. And then as they move east, they may congeal into a line as they get into the middle Ohio Valley. Looking at some more questions. So, okay, this is a good one. Someone is asking, when do you expect the flood watches to start being issued? So we actually issued the flood watch yesterday. So all of the offices in the Ohio Valley got their flood watches out yesterday, even though we don't expect the heavy rain to start until tomorrow night, which is very unusual. We do not normally send out flood watches that early before the system in question, but I think that's just one of the reasons we wanted to do that was to really heighten public awareness that this is a big deal, and we wanted to get the word out there that flooding is going to be possible later this week. And I think the unusualness of us doing it so early hopefully got that message across. And also, I think that is an indication of our confidence in the event, that it really is looking like this is likely to happen. And so we really wanted to get those flood watches out as quickly as possible. All right, that pretty much gets me through the questions, and we've been on here for about 22 minutes at this time. I know everybody's very busy, and of course, we've got our hands full here at the weather office as well. So it looks like I've gotten through most of the questions. And again, if there's something I didn't cover, or if you have more questions, please feel free to email us. You can email us at that address from which the email was sent this morning with the link to the briefing slides. Go ahead and email us, shoot us a question. We're happy to answer any questions that we can. Phone's been ringing a lot today, a lot of questions, so that's fine. Right, so everybody stay safe, watch out for the weather, stay off those flooded roadways, don't drive into them. And again, my name is Tom Ray. I'm a lead forecaster here at the National Weather Service Office in Louisville, Kentucky. And perhaps we will be chatting again very, very soon. Thank you all for your attention.